They told me I had 48 hours to return a child I had raised for 17 years. No warning. No conversation. Just a call. And a deadline. If you're here, settle in. Maybe grab something warm. This one doesn't rush. But it doesn't let go either. I didn't say anything at first. Not because I was shocked, but because I already knew where it was coming from. Family never starts with the truth. Starts with pressure. My name is Lauren Hayes. I was 39 years old when my younger sister decided she wanted her daughter back. 17 years earlier, she had signed everything away. Not in anger. Not in confusion. Calmly. Like it didn't matter. Her name is Melissa. She was 18 when she got pregnant. College-bound. Scholarships lined up. Future already mapped out. And my parents, they weren't concerned about a baby. They were concerned about appearances. Melissa cannot lose her future, my mother said. That sentence stayed with me, because no one asked what would happen to mine. I was 22, working retail, living in a one-bedroom apartment above a laundromat. I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared. But I said yes. Not out of courage. Just because no one else did. The baby, Emma, was born on a rainy afternoon in October. Melissa didn't hold her. My mother didn't either. The nurse looked at me, and I stepped forward. That was the first decision that changed everything. And the last one anyone ever thanked me for. 3 weeks later, I took Emma home. Alone. A borrowed crib. Half a pack of diapers. And a knitted gray sweater someone left at the hospital. I still have that sweater. Not because it's special, but because it's the only thing anyone gave us. The first year was quiet. Not peaceful. Just quiet. No visitors. No calls. Melissa left for California before Emma turned 2 months old. She didn't say goodbye. Just a note on the kitchen counter. I need to focus on my life. I folded that note once, put it in a drawer, and never showed it to anyone. At least not then, because something about it didn't sit right. And I didn't understand why. Not until years later. Emma didn't cry much as a baby. That sounds like a blessing. But it wasn't. She watched everything. Silent. Observant. Like she already understood more than she should. I worked mornings at a grocery store. Evenings at a call center. Sleep came in pieces. Life came in routines. And Emma fit into all of it without ever asking for anything. No one from my family visited. Not once. My mother would call occasionally. Never to ask about Emma. Only to check if things were manageable. That was her word. Manageable. As if we were a situation. Not people. When Emma turned 4, she asked me a question while sitting on the kitchen floor. Why don't I have a mom like other kids? I didn't answer right away. Because the truth wasn't simple. So I gave her the only version I could live with. You have me. She nodded, accepted it, and went back to coloring. That was the moment I realized something. Children don't demand perfect answers. They just need consistent ones. Years passed like that. Quiet. Structured. Predictable. Until they weren't. Melissa came back into the picture when Emma was 12. Not in person. Through a message. A short one. I've been thinking about her. Her. Not Emma. Not my daughter. Just her. I didn't reply. Not because I was angry, but because I knew. This wasn't about reconnecting. It was about timing. And timing in my family was never accidental. A week later, my mother called. Melissa is doing well now, she said. She's stable. I stayed quiet. She deserves a chance, my mother added. Deserves. That word again. I looked across the room. Emma was doing homework. Head down. Focused. 17 years of quiet effort. And suddenly someone deserved something. That's when I started paying attention. Not to what they were saying, but to what they weren't. Because something was building. And I had a feeling. I wasn't supposed to see it yet. Fear's still here. You might want to stay. Because this is where things start to shift. Melissa didn't call again after that. Not directly. She used my mother instead. Every message passed through her like a filter. Softened. Reworded. Manipulated. She just wants to reconnect. She's changed. She regrets everything. But regret has a pattern. It shows up consistently. Not when it's convenient. Emma turned 14 that summer. We had a small dinner. Just the two of us. Cake from a discount bakery. Candles slightly uneven. She smiled anyway. That's when my phone buzzed. A group message. Numbers I hadn't saved. But I recognized them. Family. Melissa. My mother. An uncle I hadn't spoken to in years. The message read, "We should all come together for Emma soon." Not a question. A suggestion disguised as a plan. I didn't respond. But Emma saw my expression. "Who is it?" she asked. I hesitated. Then said, "People who haven't been here." She nodded. Again accepting more than she should. That night I couldn't sleep. Not because of the message. Because of the timing. Everything was happening too neatly. Too coordinated. And in my experience, that never meant something good. 2 days later, my mother showed up unannounced. She hadn't done that in over a decade. She walked in like she still lived there. Looked around. Paused on Emma. "You've done well," she said. Not to me. About Emma. Like I was temporary. Then she sat down. Folded her hands. And said something that didn't belong in that room. "Melissa wants to take responsibility now." Take. Not share. Not rebuild. Take. I didn't react. Not outwardly. But something in me shifted. Quietly. 'Cause I realized. This wasn't a request. It was the beginning of something already decided. And I was just now being informed. But they made one mistake. They assumed I would respond the way I always had. Quiet. Agreeable. Manageable. They forgot. 17 years changes a person. And I wasn't the same one who said yes the first time. Not even close. And what I found next proved they had been planning this longer than I thought. I didn't confront her that day. I made tea. Sat across from her. Listen. Because people reveal more when they think you're not resisting. "She's ready now," my mother said again. Ready. I let the word sit there. "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means she can give Emma the life she deserves." There it was. The implication. That what I had given wasn't enough. I nodded slowly. "Does Emma know?" I asked. My mother hesitated. Just for a second. "No," she said. That pause told me everything. This wasn't about Emma. It was about control. Later that night after she left, I went through an old storage box in my closet. Papers. Bills. Receipts. Things I hadn't touched in years. That's where I found it. An envelope. Unmarked. Inside a copies. Legal documents. Signed. Stamped. Not just guardianship. Termination. Complete. Permanent. Melissa hadn't just stepped away. She had signed away every right. I sat there on the floor for a long time. Because suddenly, everything made sense. The timing. The pressure. The sudden interest. They weren't asking. They were hoping I didn't remember. Or worse, that I never fully understood what I had. The next morning, Emma came into the kitchen early. Unusual for her. She looked off. "Someone messaged me," she said. I didn't need to ask who. She said she's my mom. There it was. No filter this time. No middleman. Just direct contact. "How do you feel?" I asked. She thought for a moment. Then said something that stayed with me. "I feel like I'm being introduced to a stranger who already thinks she knows me." I nodded, because that's exactly what it was. But that wasn't the worst part. Emma pulled out her phone. Showed me the message. "I've always loved you." 3 words. 17 years late. And somehow, perfectly timed. That's when I knew. This wasn't emotional. This was strategic. And whatever they were planning was about to escalate. Because when people rewrite history, they don't do it halfway. They go all in. And I had a feeling. They already had. The next call came 2 days later. Not from my mother. From a lawyer. Calm voice. Measured tone. "Ms. Hayes, we've been asked to discuss a potential transition of custody." Transition. Like Emma was a job position. I leaned back in my chair. "I think you have the wrong understanding," I said. A pause. Papers shuffling on the other end. "Well, we were informed that the biological parent." "She relinquished her rights," I interrupted. Another pause. Longer this time. "I wasn't made aware of that," he said. Of course he wasn't. because that detail ruins everything. I ended the call politely, but my hands were steady, not shaking, not nervous, just certain. That same evening, Emma came home quieter than usual. She sat down, didn't take off her shoes. People at school know, she said. That hit differently. How? I asked. She showed me her phone. A post. Public. Melissa's account. A picture of a baby. Emma. Caption. Reuniting with my daughter after years apart. Some stories take time. Hundreds of comments. Support. Praise. No context. No truth. Just a narrative. And people believed it. Because it sounded right. That's the dangerous part about stories. The right version isn't always the true one. Emma scrolled silently. I don't remember her, she said. I didn't respond. Because memory isn't the same as connection. And connection can't be forced. That night I went back to the documents. Read every line again. Then I noticed something I hadn't before. A clause. Buried. Small. But final. Irrevocable. No reversal without consent. Mine. I closed the folder. Sat in the dark for a while. Because now I understood the real plan. They weren't trying to win legally. They were trying to win publicly. Pressure. Perception. Control. If enough people believed it, maybe Emma would too. And that's when things would actually shift. Not through courts. Through doubt. But they made one miscalculation. They assumed Emma didn't see clearly. They assumed she would be confused. Pulled. Influenced. They didn't realize. She had been watching everything her whole life. Quietly. Carefully. And if you've been paying attention, you already know what that leads to. Emma didn't confront anyone right away. That was the first sign. She watched. Listened. Let things unfold. Exactly the way I had. A week later my mother called again. This has gone too far, she said. Meaning the silence. Not the lies. We need to resolve this before Emma's birthday. Resolve. Another word that didn't belong. What are you planning? I asked. A dinner, she said. Family. Closure. Closure. I almost smiled. Because closure usually comes after truth. Not instead of it. Still, I said yes. Not because I agreed. Because I needed to see how far they would go. The dinner was set for Saturday. At my parents' house. Same place everything started. Emma chose to come. That was her decision. Not mine. When we arrived everything looked staged. Tables set. Candles lit. Too perfect. Melissa was already there. Dressed carefully. Smiling like this was a reunion. Not a confrontation. She stood up when we walked in. Hi, she said. Soft. Controlled. Emma nodded. Didn't move closer. Didn't hug her. That small distance said more than anything else. Dinner started normally. Too normally. Small talk. Forced laughter. Then my mother leaned forward. This is a chance to move forward, she said. There it was. The script. Melissa reached into her bag. Pulled out something. A framed photo. Emma as a baby. I kept this, she said. Emma looked at it. Then back at her. You didn't keep me, she replied. Silence. Complete. Heavy. No one moved. No one spoke. Because in that moment, everything cracked. The performance. The narrative. All of it. Melissa tried to recover. I was young, she said. I had no choice. Emma tilted her head slightly. But you made one, she said. And just like that, the pressure shifted. Not onto me. Onto her. Where it belonged. And that's when I realized something. This was never my fight. It was hers. And she had been ready for it. Longer than anyone expected. After that night everything changed. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. Like a shift in weight. The messages stopped. The calls slowed. Because pressure only works when it's unanswered. Now, they had their answer. But Melissa didn't disappear. She adapted. A new message came days later. Not emotional this time. Direct.